Okay, good morning and welcome to my channel. For those that hadn't seen this before, we're putting an Austin Healey together. We're at the assembly stage. I've actually still got quite a lot of manufacturing to do, like the metal seat pans, the metal seat backs and so on. We'll do that as we go along. Today's exercise is going to have a look at these horns as I promised in my previous video. I've glass bead blasted them at another shed that I do some work at and made them a little bit tidier just so we can see what's going on. I've no idea what condition these are in apart from what I see on the outside. My preference is to use these as against these because you can see these are far more modern, as these are the originals, I suspect. Well, I know that these are the original horns. They're made by Lucas. So aluminium for the bulk of it, and I had one here, this one here, I don't know if you can see that there. I don't know if that's going to focus in or anything, but it's actually got where these screws are, it's as if it's been compressed, and I've got 3 cracks. Now if this is aluminium, we can repair it. Also, I seem to have a hole here where this is broken away, so a little bit of repair work, but again, only if it's aluminium. If it's not, if it's no, nothing tells me here that it what sort of metal it is, so I'll just have to take it apart and just I'll know it by weight and whether it's aluminium or not, and we'll see if we can actually salvage these. I suspect you won't get the parts. If we can make them, we will, and if we can't, then of course we won't. A lovely brass nut, and in black with a nice shiny brass nut and a bit of polish, and it should come up okay, provided I can get it to work. Okay, today's interesting exercise. It's raining at the moment. Well, not right now, but it's been raining, and there's more expected later on today, so I'm actually locked in the shed. Can't do much other than what I've prepared for here. Look, I've even tidied my bench and moved the tools on, and just so that we can zoom in and see what's going on. All right, interesting little exercise just for today. Let's do it. Did a bit of research actually on the horns. A number of things have come up. There was a very well written paper on Lucas high frequency car horns, which is what these are. And these were manufactured between 1953 and 1961. I've cleaned this up a little bit actually, but it's quite interesting, the information that's available. I'm finding it very difficult, if you saw my previous, to undo these screws. And also these screws are all broken here, 3, 4 of them, and I need to drill those out because they'll never screw out, as they've virtually welded themselves through rust to the casing. I've cleaned the casing up quite a bit, as you can see, and I'm reasonably happy with that. I still need to clean the contacts, but the insides, if you can see that there, look actually relatively clean. And I think I will test these with a voltmeter. And this here, this mechanism here, that you can see here perhaps, is called a condenser. A condenser is the old word for a capacitor. So there is a need for, they say it's best to replace that, because don't forget this is in excess of, I don't know, 50, 70 years old. So it might pay just to replace that with a capacitor that's more up to date and clean. Also, there's a set of spring contacts in here that touch, and they quite often burn with the carbon. They can burn and create all sorts of problems as well. So it pays to give those a good clean, like the contacts in a car, in your distributor. So I think this cover here, once I get the screws out, will be quite good. The other interesting thing is this is the diaphragm, which is a spring steel. I've cleaned it up quite a bit. Could do with a bit more cleaning. I mean, the corrosion on it isn't too bad. It does have 2 gaskets, and I'll make those out of thin cardboard, and probably dip them in oil just to soak them a bit and make them a little bit on the wet side, just to act as a seal. But I think this diaphragm actually is quite good. The other thing I found out is that the one that I had has got a brass plate. Both of them have a brass plate, and this model here is the high frequency, and then you've got a lower frequency, and that's all constituted by the adjustment here at the back. So it's the separation distance of this mechanism here. This works in the coil. Okay, so what you're getting is the up and down movement here, very rapid movement, which vibrates the diaphragm. And then this fellow here, this disc, it's actually pure magnesium almost. And it says here that it's called actually a tone disc, tone disc. And some people were making these out of aluminium, but it just doesn't have the right tone to it, and it's got to be magnesium. And as you can see, it's probably about 4 millimeters thick. So I think this is salvageable, even though it's a little bit pitted and whatever, where you can just put a bit of undercoat on that, and a bit of primer and a bit of final coat, and which leaves me, the diaphragm I think is salvageable, and I imagine the other one is not that bad. They're in great demand, would you believe? So it's worthy of looking at giving it a good clean. Now the only really concern that I have on it is this, I'm not sure what you call it, it's the outside ring, this part here that sits on the outside. Okay, now this one here is reasonably intact and good, but no doubt by the time I get these screws out, I might actually end up damaging it as well. This one here, I tried cleaning it. I was thinking yesterday I'll weld this and I can 3D weld and fill those gaps, but it's just not going to work because I touch it everywhere and I increase the brakes. As you can see, it's just about to break here. Okay, it's just about to break there, and of course this brake here, there's a large crack here and it propagates that way. I tried cleaning this with a wire brush so that I could perhaps set it up to weld, but I'm finding that it's just so badly contaminated over the period that I'm not going to get a clean weld no matter what I do. I could have a go, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to fail on that. So I had a look on the internet. I think there's a chap in New Zealand had a die made up for these, and he's selling these for about, they were $100 US each, and I'm thinking, well, that's sort of a bit expensive for a ring. I can understand why he would do that and charge it, because you know there's quite a bit of tooling cost involved, and you know, the design factors, and then again he wants a bit of a margin out of it, so I don't blame him for that. But I think I'm going to try and make this. I've already measured it up somewhat. It's 16 gauge aluminium. The only thing I'm going to miss is the Lucas logo at the top. But I think with nice shiny new aluminium, this nut here polished, which is a brass nut, and all cleaned up, I think it should really sit quite well, provided I can just confirm that the electrics are going to work. So this is all the gasket material I pulled off yesterday here. Okay, and it's very thin and almost looks like thin cardboard sheets, and you can get those from manila folders and things like that. That's the sort of thickness that we're talking about. And then just soak them in oil for a little bit, and then sort of dry them off so that the oil soaks into it. And I think what'll happen, see, the problem is that they sit at the lowest part of the car at the front, and then they've got this panel that sits right over the top of it. I'll show you that because I haven't made mine yet. It's one of the jobs that I need to make. Okay, so all this panel work here, and then the horns sit under there like so. In essence, it's only sitting about a foot off the road, and they have a tendency to have rocks thrown at them and various other bits of road, mud, rain, you name it. They're really in the weather. So I think it's worth salvaging, and I think if I give this a nice clean, the disc, the brass, and all these screws here, change them to maybe even stainless steel, and give them a nice shiny look, and then this part here to be black, and I think they can be very pretty. So that's where I'm going to go with this thing, and I think this will be easy enough to make. I can't see any problem with that. I've got a bead roller that I can just lift that edge up on, drill all the holes basically in the same place. That's no issue. The only thing is I'd have a band, the thin band, and then this disc, and I'd weld that right around there and then dress that back. And I'm keen to have a go at that, so I don't really see any issue with that. As I said earlier on, this readout here is good. It tells me everything I need to do. The capacitor I've already researched, and I think I can get them online, on eBay even, or I've tried local electrical suppliers and it just gets a bit too difficult, whereas on eBay it was really reasonably well laid out. So, looking good. So let's set up to try and take those dead screws out, and then put it all aside in one box while I make all the other stuff for that, especially these. I need two of these, of course. I'll change both, even though this one isn't cracked that I can see. But if I want them looking the same, then it's probably, you know, if I make one I may as well make two. So that's an interesting job. I could even start that this afternoon. However, my guillotine and that is at another shed that I usually visit on Thursdays, and I might wait till then. I've got a little bit scraps of metal sitting there, and so this is just going to hold me up for a few days.